Well, Gerd, thank you so much for joining us at today's FinTech Professional Forum
Thank you
with
for
the
the invite.
topic regulatory change and regulatory change from a FinTech perspective. Let's follow on what we discussed during the session a little bit, and let's look at the challenges from a FinTech perspective for FinTech startups for 2015 compared to last year in terms of teams, in terms of backing, in terms of funding. Where do you think are the key pockets of risk assistance and the main challenges for them?
I think what's interesting 2015 over 2014 is I think the teams I see in terms of quality of team, financial backing, business plan, and also prospects to succeed significantly changed. I would say if you look at the numbers, in 2014 you had maybe 14 billion invested in the sector. This year it's already 20 billion invested in the sector, which means that the financial resources from financial entrepreneurs and fintech entrepreneurs are completely different than in 2014 and 2013. So I think that really changed the landscape and the success factors also for these teams. I think for any fintech company, there's probably only 4 or 5 things you need to get right to succeed. And that looks very easy, but if you really boil it down to, we just discussed capital is pretty easy to get because there's a lot of venture capital and angel networks which will fund you and will listen to your business idea. The second thing is you need to have probably a legal structure in place, and any lawyer can help you in setting up and form a company, LLP or limited company, to get things started. I think you need to have the right people in place who help you maybe on the technology development and also on scaling the business. But last but not least, there's also a big challenge, and that challenge doesn't go away, and this is the compliance and regulatory framework under which you're operating, and you need to fit in your fintech business idea into the existing regulatory framework in order to actually launch.
Now, you've given already the hint there, regulatory framework, challenges around compliance. Where do you think are the key challenges from a regulatory perspective, and how can you help them to be overcome, and also what is the FCA currently doing in that space?
Maybe I'll take the last question first, and this is the FCA is doing a lot. The FCA is very approachable and has recently set up Innovation Hub, which is an advisory team of the FCA to enable entrepreneurs to start innovative new companies. They recently launched a product which is called the Sandbox Project, where in a confined environment, new innovation and new fintech ideas are being tested out under the close supervision of the regulator and other parties. So I think from a regulatory perspective, it's a great ecosystem to start. On the other hand, the regulatory obligations don't go away. You need to make sure that you fulfill all regulatory obligations of a financial services firm, and that means that you need to have a culture of compliance in place, you need to communicate with your counterparties fairly, you need to document things, you need to be up to scratch in terms of training and competence, and you need to have a compliance officer also, of course, in your firm who can cover all these topics. So on the one hand, I think the environment and the ecosystem has become much more supportive. On the other hand, compliance and regulations becomes or still is one of the big topics you need to address. The way we help these entrepreneurs overcome these challenges is that we have launched a number of firms in the last 3 years in all different areas of the financial services side, and particularly on the fintech side, and we can help them through, on the one hand, a hosting solution, but also a regulatory advice and consulting solution to help them get up and running very quickly.
Okay, fantastic. So there's a lot of regulatory requirements. You have to overcome those. I think the key question, or 2 key questions really, are here: how long is it going to take you, and how much is it going to cost you?
I think it depends a little bit on what you want to do with your fintech company, but I would say if you're using a hosted solution and it's a relatively simple business model, you could be up and running within 3, 4, 5 weeks. If you're looking to get directly authorized, it might take 6 to 12 months, and you need to have all the infrastructure in place. So I think every entrepreneur needs to make a decision between I want to get authorized myself, and that means I pay for the entire infrastructure, and it takes a long time, and it's much more comprehensive project and process. Or on the other hand, I take something like an appointed representative structure, where a already regulated firm can lend me the permissions to conduct regulated activities, and that might be a nice option to get the foot in the door, to get the foot in the industry, and also to work under the supervision of an existing regulated firm. So I think that's a decision any fintech firm needs to make in the beginning, and then I think there's a big chance of succeeding as well.
So listening to yourself and listening to your comments would suggest to me fintech is the future, particularly if you're based in London, particularly based in the financial markets. It's the way to go. It's not going to go away, and it's going to be a massive, big growth area over the next few years. So on that note, I think thank you so much for joining us at the CSI today.
Thank you very much.
And being our guest, it's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very interesting questions.